Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. Welcome to the third episode of our podcast, Voices of MGSEB, a platform where we explore ideas, insights, and innovation at the intersection of business, leadership, and education. I'm Prof. Azizi, your host. Today, we are excited to welcome Mr. Badzlan Bakar, a young founder and CEO of Reyhut Automation. And probably we're going to change it to Reyhut Intelligent, we just discussed just now. And Badzlan's journey is anything but ordinary, from working as a crew member at AirAsia, later becoming an analyst and regional sales, to joining Microsoft not once but twice. And along the way, he was also active in politics before taking a leap of faith into entrepreneurship. So leaving behind the comfort of corporate life, he took a bold decision, resigning from Microsoft, using his savings and even selling some of his assets to start Reyhut. And with early support from MDEC and Hassan VC, Reyhut is now gaining traction and proving that big risks can bring big rewards. So I'm fortunate to have been part of his early startup journey and looking forward to hearing his story, the challenges, the turning points, and the vision for what comes next. So welcome to UMK, Badzlan.
Thank you so much, Prof. To Azizi for the welcoming remarks, I would say, and for the opportunity to share.
Yeah. So thank you for coming down all the way from Kuala Lumpur to join us. And today we will explore the theme, risk, resilience, and Reyhut, a founder's journey. Bismillah ala barakatillah. And for this podcast today, we are going to have like 5 segments. So we are going to start with the first segment on the early life and career. So my first question, Badzlan, can you share a bit about your background and what shaped your early interest in business and technology?
Thank you, Prof. Basically, the interest in business itself shaped by my family, where my dad is actually operating a ice factory back in Gomusang. And my mother, she runs a stationery shop. So basically the family shaped my inclination for business, I would say. But the technology part was a bit weird because I was inspired when I was 15 years old. There was this one guy who came to our house to fix a computer. And he actually got a satellite engineering background. And he was like, I feel like, wow, that's so cool, satellite engineering, so tech. And I was inspired by that. That triggers my interest to really explore technology. And from then on, I started my first cyber cafe in Gomusang at the age of 15 because of that spark of inspiration. So that's how I got started with the wonderful world of technology.
So you grew up in Gomusang?
Exactly, right, in the place where we call it the Jin Bertendang.
Okay. And to set up cyber cafe,
yep,
at the age of 15 is something in Gomusang. Is something that, wonderful. And I've read your bio that you work as a crew member at AirAsia, and then you move up the rank to become the analyst and the regional head for sales, and later joining Microsoft twice. What lesson did you carry from these experiences into your entrepreneurial journey?
Right. I think one key theme throughout my transition, especially in my career, I started in UM actually, even before AirAsia as a cabin crew. I started in UM doing marketing as well for a biotechnology company doing a genomic research, the DNA research. And then transitioned to become a cabin crew, which is serving people food and beverages on board, and becoming a regional sales, and then back to Microsoft of becoming a business manager, or internally they call different, externally call different. There's so many naming in Microsoft. So the learnings from there was that it is very important for you to like take the steps of unknown, because that's kind of pressure that will shape your know-how and shape you as a person. And it is the kind of transition that would actually help you to become resilient when it comes to doing things that hard and tough. And that what I think shaped my journey into business as well. When you're doing startup, you never know it's going to be successful or not. But regardless of the bumpy road, you still have the capacity to figure things out because of what you did in the past during your transition. That was some of the, I think, themes and key learnings I had.
Yeah, interesting. But another interesting point that I would like to ask you is that when I get to know you a few years back, you were involved in politics.
Exactly.
And I remember telling you that, okay, to discuss with me, put politics aside. So we just focus on the business. So how did your experience in politics influence your perspective as a leader and founder?
Right. Just to give a context of how I got into politics, that time it started, the inspiration of going into politics started in Budapest. And then I was in Budapest, I was looking at the city, and then there's a river in the center of Budapest, the intersection of Buda and Pest. So in Gomusang, we have a river cut across the city. It's like, oh shoot, I want to make Gomusang that look like Budapest someday. So that's the first inspiration. And then I went to Istanbul, where I went to really deep and learn about the history of Islamic civilization. Okay. And I was like, we were great ones. And then what we can do through the intersection of power, money, and politics to be able to bring back Islam civilization, something like that. So that when I came back to Gomusang, I bought a whiteboard, a huge whiteboard, and I put in a whiteboard there. The first 5 years in Gomusang, I want to go into politics, and this is my objective. The reason to go into politics at that time was, how can I increase the take-home salary of young people in Kelantan, in Gomusang that time, from 1,200 ringgit to 1,500 ringgit, about 20% increase. Because I realized one thing, if you don't have a clear objective of going to politics, you're going to be like others. Go in there to make money or to abuse, instead of really nation building, or at least local building, something like that. So that's how I got into politics. And then the learnings I got from going to politics and jumping into entrepreneurship is a totally two different world. Politics is totally two different economic incentives. That's why in the West people say, don't hate the players, hate the game. Because the game is different. Economic incentive is different in a way that in politics, you are in a way shaped to be more of a narrative shaper, or who's doing what to who. But in business, you are shaped by the idea of you have to be competent and excellent in that area of business or domain, which is different than politics. So that's what I learned, and I was like, that made me thinking, those who go into politics in the early days, if they do not have the right mindset and they don't have the right guardrails that they build for themselves, they easily get swayed to play the game. So, yeah.
You currently take a break from politics.
Yeah.
Is there any intention to go back, probably one day?
Yeah, I discussed with my wife, because at some point of time, if you want to bring change to society, especially at nation building, and even if the unspoken, I would say, unspoken dream of bringing back Islamic civilization is like, you need to go into politics, because intersection of power, politics, and money is very important when it comes to like building change at larger scale. The discussion with my wife was, maybe at the age of 45 or 50, I'm going back into politics. That time we already have networks, money to be able to do something within our own capacity, and the friends that align with us.
Okay, hopefully by that time you are already super rich. So when you join the politics, because you don't go into politics to become rich.
Exactly.
And with that business experience and the right mindset, we really hope that you can, young people like you can bring that needed change that our country needs. So
Inshallah.
that's the early part of the this first segment about the early life and the career of Mr. Badzlan, which is very inspiring. And now let's go to the second segment, the leap into entrepreneurship. Leaving a secure job at Microsoft to start Reyhut was a bold decision. I remember that you asked me, should you resign and focus on your startup? So what going through your mind at that moment?
I didn't even tell my parents I'm resigning from Microsoft. So because, of course they won't allow me. I mean, by all the good intentions, right? What goes through my mind at that time was that I know that if I don't take risks today, then I wouldn't have much time left to be able to do something, to take risks, to be more, because I'm still mobile. Yeah. I still can do a lot of things. And I think it's just the right time. I mean, I already have corporate experience, network, which increased my surface area of luck. And then perhaps some helps with some friends. And with the know-how, then even if I fail, I always believe that with one step back, you actually would have two steps ahead. There's always like that. Throughout my career, my 4 major career, it's always like that. It's always like one step back, two steps ahead. So I'm not really like afraid to fail because I know one time I've failed, there's always 2 things coming ahead of me. So that's what I think make me convinced of, let's do this. Let's give it a shot. Yeah.
It's not failure. People call it as the learning process. Right. I remember that more than a decade ago, we had a session like this with one successful entrepreneur in Australia at that time. No, in New Zealand. And that's one audience asked him that, what is the failure rate of entrepreneurship of those entrepreneurs? So one professor said very high, around 90%. And this guy said 0. Because there's no such thing as failure. It's only experience, the learning process. That's the mindset of entrepreneurs. I believe that. Yeah. And okay, let's go to the second question of our second segment. You funded Reyhut. First, you take a bold decision to resign from Microsoft about few months after you rejoined Microsoft. That's a very tough decision. And you use your personal savings and selling some of your assets. What gave you confidence to take that risk?
That time, because we already have a prototype running out there and we already started seeing some sort of traction and interest in the market. So objectively, the market already showing the demand for the solution, the type of solution that we are offering out there. And then that's the micro trend. And then when I got that signal, I went out there and I studied a little bit more on the macro trends, like what is the trend forward. And that time, I think people don't really talk about AI yet, I suppose. And we are seeing, even with the automation, even with the technology stack that we have in the industry today, enough for us to bring something magical to our customer. So that's one reason I got. I really, take risk, utilizing my funds as well as selling some assets, because the conviction on objective level, and then on a subjective level, which is, I know that taking entrepreneurship, doing startup will be risky, but I always believe, as I said just now, that even if something gonna happen, a bumpy road where I need to take one step back, I always believe, it's just my crazy conviction that there's always a way to have 2 steps ahead whenever there is 1 step. So 1 step back is just a signal for you to get something 2 steps ahead. I have this weird conviction on that. Yeah.
All right. Did you face skepticism from your family, friends, colleagues?
Definitely.
When you made that kind of leap?
Definitely. I mean, 2 chapter of skepticism, I would say. The first chapter was when I was starting my hotel in Kelantan, in Gomusang, during pandemic. Who in the right mind that is sane to build a hotel, I think 1 month after the blockade, 1 month after pandemic, the announcement of it. everybody say you're crazy, or you're going against the trends and stuff like that. But I think people don't know that time. People don't know that we have unfair advantage. We have certain insights or know-how about why this is the right time with the kind of technology I'm bringing to the market. And they are not wrong. They just don't know what we know. Same in the investment circle as well. Sometimes advisor or your investor would tell you to do this kind of thing. They are not wrong because they see patterns, but somehow you know what's happening in the market. Probably you have a better, I would say, insight of how you would navigate, right? So that's the first skepticism. Everybody said, I'm crazy, I'm spending so much money to build the budget hotel. And I think the second skepticism was when I wanted to start the startup itself, which is Reyhut itself. People said, crazy, you're going there already, Microsoft the second time. If you're going to resign, they're not going to accept you again. Well, it's not the case, right? For me, I believe that if you have the competency, if you have a good surface area of luck, which is very important for everyone, then actually good thing can happen even if I resign. Never know, probably I'm going back to Google. Probably I'm going back to Apple after this. You never know. SpaceX, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, when you first started, it's more like a one-man show.
Exactly.
You were the CEO, the CTO, and the COO. Exactly. So how long that you be like that before you able to hire someone to assist you?
Yeah, I think it took about almost 3 to 5 years if we are to consider from those days when we started the hotel. So a lot of execution from mine. Of course, I have a staff, but it's not like a management staff who do the thinking, strategy, execution together. But I think 3 to 4 years before I really got someone on board. But because getting someone on board with the right competency and right, I would say, working etiquette is really hard. As much, I always believe the thing that you don't trust people, but you are convinced that they are good enough. And when it comes to like working, it doesn't mean that we trust people. There's a weird dichotomy of a weird philosophy I have that it's not that I trust you, but it's because I'm convinced with your competency. I'm convinced with your smartness. I'm convinced with your intelligence. Because trust is very subjective. And I don't want to bet my life on trust. I bet my life on competency. And that's how it takes a long time for me to bring someone in, and then when they are in, then we work together to achieve the goals that we want to achieve.
And I think you are the CEO, and at the same time you are still the brain, the engine, the tech engine behind Reyhut, and you also need to go for the sales.
Exactly.
So I think that's quite interesting. And how do you divide those tasks? Right now,
it was quite tough because when you are running a show, and then at the first early stage of startup, it's just me, myself, and I. Right? Me, myself, and I. We are doing this. I'm doing the product development, engineering, coding until 4 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, and we're doing selling. B2B selling, call, getting leads, marketing. You have to get leads, right? Yeah. But I was lucky enough because throughout my career, I covered all of this already. So basically, customer service, I covered when I was in AirAsia, when I was serving people on board, selling them cakes or nasi lemak Pak Nasir. And then when it comes to B2B sales, business-to-business sales, I covered that when I was in Microsoft, where we learned a very good framework of selling to business. And then a lot of programming, because I was in the university, I was doing programming. So basically, the skill set already rounded. Actually, the skill set is being shaped and built intentionally. I remember talking to Dan, my girlfriend, now wife, asking her, should I go for Petronas or should I go for Crayon? Because if I go to, I got an offer from Petronas that time. If I go to Petronas, I will still do my analytics thing, which is the same thing I did in Microsoft. So it's like, why do I want to do the same thing? Yes, the logo is good. My parent will be proud of me. But then again, from skill set formation perspective, it's just I would say artificial sense of pride. Yeah. But what you need is a skill set. So the another option was doing the B2B sales. It was like, I'd rather go for this less known company in Malaysia, but they are known in Australia, and get the skill set that I need. So a lot of, even if you are young people out there, if you're building your career or you are trying to figure out what to do next, think about shaping intentionally your skill set. You go from customer service, and after that, probably after 3 years, you want to explore technical part of things. Maybe you do a little bit of programming or even marketing or intelligence and stuff like that. Shape it, and you have only 3 or 4 years each chapter. So that's how I design my life. Every 3 to 4 years, I transition. Because that's how you build your skill set and know-how. Because when you have that kind of huge, rounded know-how, you increasing your surface area of luck. So it's easy for luck to come over to you.
I remember that you told me you work with something on smart city. Is that with Crayon?
That one was, I was doing advisory role, consulting role with Kiwi Tech that time. So basically, my job there, because I have this program management experience, I was able to build a full-scale execution plan for certain program. And I got in there and helped the company when it comes to execution for smart city.
Right. So far, wow, very interesting.
And also so healthcare, actually. Healthcare in Kelantan, Kota Baru.
Healthcare. Wow. Okay, let's take a quick break before we have more interesting questions and more, I would say, insights from Badzlan. But let's take a quick break.
Hai, nama Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Wan Nofana Liana binti Wan Muhammad Salim, merupakan pelajar Fakulti Keusahawanan dan Perniagaan tahun ketiga. Apa yang menarik tentang fakulti kami adalah kami diterapkan dengan elemen-elemen keusahawanan seperti menyertai program-program bersama tokoh-tokoh usahawan yang berjaya. Dan jika anda ingin tahu, apa yang menarik adalah UMK menyediakan pendaftaran syarikat siswa kepada pelajar yang ingin memulakan perniagaan. Apa yang menarik tentang SSU? Okey, SSU ada 2 benefit, iaitu akan memberi pinjaman kepada peniaga mikro, dan yang kedua akan memberi mentoring dan coaching secara percuma kepada pelajar yang ingin memulakan perniagaan. Jadi, jika anda minat, jom sertai FKP.
Startup Summit among students, so we can have that bila dah rancak. So kalau tak rancak memang tak boleh buat summit lagi lah. So that's my dream actually. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hai, saya Dr. Hana Yasmin Hafiz, pengarah Ignite Venture Lab UMK. Ignite Venture Lab ditubuhkan pada 2021 untuk menyokong visi dan misi negara, which is sejajar dengan Dasar Kewangan Negara 2030, iaitu menjadikan syarikat pemula pelajar berteraskan inovasi dan digital. Ignite Venture Lab actively involved in building new startup yang berteraskan inovasi dan merancangkan syarikat pemula yang berteraskan inovasi dan beridentitikan khusus program yang dipelajari oleh pelajar-pelajar tersebut. So dengan ini harapan kami Ignite Venture Lab boleh menggerakkan lagi agenda
Okay, welcome back. Let's now go into more details on how you build Reyhut. Okay, for listeners who are not familiar with Reyhut, can you explain what actually Reyhut does and the problem it is solving?
Right. Reyhut is actually tackling the hospitality industry. So basically, we're trying to automate at least 90% of the hotel and also vacation rental operations. I believe that majority of hospitality operators today, more than 60% of their headcount, of their costs went into headcount. So how do we optimize this with technology as well as with automation? And today's technology stack is already low cost enough for technology creator like us to build something and be able to offer to the market. So that's what we do. And we specialize in hardware, self-check-in. We specialize in, now we are going into intelligent, which is agentic AI for operational works for hospitality.
Okay, market-wise, you already in Malaysia and you are exploring Indonesia.
Yep.
And I think Philippines as well?
Philippines, not yet, because we did some studies last time that even though Philippines is an English-speaking market, but in terms of expansion of their tourism market, it's not as aggressive as the other market. In fact, Vietnam is much more ready compared to Philippines.
Okay. So meaning that you are slowly growing and exploring the ASEAN market.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, what were the toughest challenges in the early days of Reyhut to gain that kind of traction, early traction, etc.?
Yeah, the toughest challenges was to get our software ready for the first 5 customers in a way that would make them stick and stay and keep using, right? And that's really tough because when your brand is not known and you don't have much, I would say, footprint in the market, it's really hard to convince people. But once you're able to get some of the early customers in and then you're able to shape your product based on the feedback that you got from them, then that's where the magic starts to happen. Of course, to get a huge explosion of momentum is hard. Some companies take 5 years, but we're still in the process of trying to get that spark of explosive engagement. Yeah.
So you gain support from MDEC first, and then you get the fund from Hassan VC. So how does that funding shape your growth journey so far?
Huge thanks to MDEC. Without MDEC, no Reyhut actually, because they are the one who give us guidance, convince us to do this, and then also financial support to get started. Without them, I don't think we have the right capacity to really become a real company. And then from there, we were able to secure Hassan VC. And thank you so much to Hassan VC for being able to give us the time frame to be able to find PMF, which is product market fit. It's not a phase of building when it comes to venture building. So yeah, and this is a kind of, I believe, this is the kind of support that we need in the market today, capital support. Of course, when we talk about DPI, which is return of investment on startup, is not pretty across the world, right? But again, we need to have a very strong capital ecosystem to be able to support all of these ideas that are already coming out to the market.
So in the future, are you looking for more funding to come in so that you can speed up the growth of your...
Indeed, yes. So I think just now we discussed about the potential of moving to Japan. So that's one thing that we're looking at. Once we have our basic operation set up there, inshallah, in the next 2 months, then we should be able to try to get more funding to be able to support that kind of operations in Japan as well. In fact, the software itself is undergoing a translation to be able to support Japanese market.
Yeah. Badzlan is moving to Japan, I think, in a few months' time.
Yeah.
And,
少しだけ日本語喋れました。
you can speak Japanese now.
Yeah, I lived in Japan for 1 year last time when I was in Microsoft.
Okay, you were there. You were there. So you know how to speak Japanese.
A little bit.
So and we have made a promise that when he moved there, then I will go there and he will entertain me. So
I become the soupe.
Yeah. Okay. So every startup founder talks about the make or break moment. Was there a point when you feel like I'm giving up, that kind of feeling?
Too many times.
Too many.
I mean, that's the reality of startup, right? There's always bumpy road. Of course, the major bumpy road, I think I could recall about 2 bumpy roads. The first bumpy road, the major one was before we get the MTech funding. We were like, this is just a side project and blah, blah, like that. And then we were like, if we are not getting any help, then it's really hard to really make this a real company. And then MTech came into the picture. Thank you, MTech. And then after that, the second one was, I think, when we were nearly out of cash, which is normal for startup. And then that time came the help of Hassan VC and angel investor as well that came to us. And that's where we start to get back up on foot and then execute again as we go throughout the journey. Of course, so many times, right? You want to say, oh my God, this is so hard.
It's part of the process.
It's part of the process. And it's expensive learning, but it's very, very useful learnings along the way.
Yeah. So I hope that because some of our students are currently working on this startup journey, and we have Dr. Fakitah there, the mentor, and hopefully they can listen to this and learn something. It's not easy, but it's doable. With the persistent resilience, then, nothing is impossible. And how is Reyhut gaining traction today, and what milestones that you are proud of?
Right. Last time when we started, it's very much, I would say, organic. For example, when we got the first customer, the first few customers, 3 to 5 customers, the customer brought us into their community, where I gave a talk into the community, and then we got customer from there as well. And then after that, we go into advertising to get more leads and stuff like that. And I think the moment that we were proud of was when we first got few of our hotel type customer, because we were focusing a lot on vacation rental, homestay lah, even in Malaysia. But then when we got the first few hotels, and we figured out like, hey, I think this should work for a upper market. And it's like, that's where the proud moment where, okay, we onboarded this one hotel, maybe we can go bigger in this hotel sector. So that's, I think, one thing that make me want to like, okay, let's go further.
Okay. I have one additional question before we move to the next segment. It is about technical feasibility and economic viability. I think from the technical point of view, you have no issue. But gaining that traction from sales, to get the sales, I mean, economically viable, that is which one is, from your perspective, is the biggest challenge?
This is very important because AI come into the picture. The reality changed very, very fast. About 2024 and before 2024, technicality is very important. You need to know how to build a product, or you need to have someone to know how to build a product, right? And then the sales, or we call it distribution, doesn't really matter. Product comes first and the distribution later. Because getting product up and running, software up and running is really hard at that time. But starting 2024, that's where the whole world changed. When GBT came into the picture, when agentic AI, which is the LLM-assisted development and coding, came into the picture, that's where technicality is not important anymore. You don't need to be software engineer to be able to build something and get things in the hand of someone. But it shifts, which means that now you need to be very good at distribution, aka marketing sales. So distribution, there's a lot of technique around it. For example, TikTok, whatever, right? But now the priority change. You need to figure out distribution first before you figure out product, right? So I think we were talking with Dr. Fakitah just now about her ideas. So like now building a software is not hard anymore. You can just open up VS Code, put in client, or you open up Lovable, or you open up whatever it is, LLM-assisted product development software. Give it a prompt, one prompt, they can come up with a product for you, full-scale product for you. It's easy. Last time it took about 2 weeks for me to rebuild my Reyhut.com. Now it took about 2 nights to come up with my product. So now the important part is distribution, not anymore technicality.
I think that's a
The world
very important lesson. And I think I shared with you a few days ago about what Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, said, that SaaS is dead because of this AI. And SaaS will be replaced by what we call S, big letter A, double A, and S. So I think that kind of like sum up what you
Exactly,
mentioned just
action
now.
as a service. This is where the important paradigm change happening for tech player, if you want to go into tech after this. This is a bit technical wordings here. One is, in the past, when SaaS happened, the world is running on what we call it system of records, okay? SOR. So imagine you have a CRM, you have list of data in the CRM, that's called system of records. But today, with LLM and agentic AI coming in, now everything has to move to system of actions, SOA. So that's a new paradigm shift on how you want to build your software. So a bit technical, but it is worth for you to figure it out early, as if you want to go into tech. That's one shift. And a lot of shift happening, especially when it comes to billings. Last time when we charge people, we charge on per seat basis, or if you register, one account is 1 month this price. But today, no. Today is per action basis. One agentic AI doing their job in their software, you charge it differently. So a lot of changes happen, but if you learn earlier, this is what we are doing. We don't want to miss the boat. In fact, for the past 2 months, I've been rebuilding my software to be able to fit to this particular new paradigm. And if you don't change now, it's going to be hard.
Okay. From the education point of view, okay, you are also the advisor to UMK. I read in the news, I think a couple of weeks ago, that many graduates from computer science in the US are not getting jobs because of the AI. And many of them go back to the university to do MBA, to refocus, re-specialize. What is your advice to our local universities, in particular UMK? UMK, we have Faculty of Computing and Data Science. Because we need to change to accommodate the changes in tech. What's your advice?
I think on the computer science point of view, because now code is no more important, which means that, not to say no more important, no more a priority on how you get going in the career. That's the right way to put it, I suppose. Then I think the one thing that you need to do is you need to be able to teach the student or equip the student with what matter for the next paradigm shift, which is, for example, today, coding is not really priority anymore. It's product development is priority. Product development has a different mindset, different thinking process. For example, you still need to know the technical terms. For example, if I'm building in Flutter, Flutter is a language by Google. I need to know how to use the IDE, which is a VS Code and stuff like that. Question is, are we teaching our students that kind of thing? Second, if we want to do prompt engineering, because now when you are building software, you are not building using code anymore, you're using prompt. So you need to understand how to use the prompt, structure the prompt properly to be able to guide the LLM. And there's a lot of techniques when guiding LLM. For example, we call it LLM hint, inline commenting. A lot of this technicality that you need to know. And if you focus enough, you can learn all this within 2 months' time. But what if we could rebuild this as a syllabus to be able to prepare these students when they go into the world, they already are the best when it comes to understanding how to speak to machines. Because now we are not speaking to machine with code anymore. In the past, computer science students speaking to machine with code. Today, you're speaking to machine with LLM. And there's a technique around it. There's tools that you need to know. For example, now we have Cloud Code. Cloud Code just came up, big explosion in LLM engineering for the past 6 months. Are we, the institution, teaching kids, teaching our students with Cloud Code? How to install Cloud Code? How to come up with the first program or the first software within the first 4 hours? Can we do that? Yes. But we need to be able to structure it. We need to be able to orchestrate this. so that when they go into the market, I can build software, working software within 4 hours, where others going to take about 4 months to do it.
Yeah. So that's something that academicians need to really ponder and try to work something on it. Even, I'm from accounting background. Talking about how we analyze the financial statements, now I can easily upload 4 annual reports and ask AI to analyze them and come up with whatever suggestions. So that's pretty easy. So from accounting perspective also, that what you are going to teach, if you are still teaching students on how to do the calculation, we are 20 years behind, I believe.
Exactly.
And the same goes to tech, which I think change much faster.
Very rapid.
Yeah, very rapid. So anyway, so let's go to the segment 4, a bit on leadership and vision. How would you describe, you are a young CEO, would you describe your leadership style? And how has it evolved since starting Reyhut?
Right. I think to give a context, my leadership today was much shaped by my bosses in the past. So it's quite important for you to have a good boss, because your boss will define most of your, I would say, your style next. I was lucky enough throughout all my career, majority of them, I got a really good boss with a really good teachings and stuff like that. First, in Sanjanics, I worked with Dr. Arif Anwar. I think he's from University of Oxford, and then in University of Malaya. I learned a lot about long-term chess play. Not even business, not even leadership, but it's a long-term chess play. How he positioned, his network and stuff like that, to be able to, shape the outcome in the next 5 years. So you think very early in his life. Like, okay, I network with this, I network with that, I position this position, because you never know what's going to happen in the next 5 years. So a lot of young people, they don't have that mindset. They always think about, I know these people today I know you, Dato, tomorrow I need to get project from you, can I? A lot of people think about it that way. Yeah. But one thing I learned from Dr. Arif was long-term chess play. And that's not only going to help you into business, career, but also in politics as well, one day if you want to go into politics, right? So and the second boss I got is Aspalinda, which is, Aspalinda, I learned a lot in Asia. I learned a lot about stakeholder management. Not everybody can manage Tony Fernandez, but she's superb at managing Tony Fernandez, right? So I learned a lot about managing stakeholder, high-stake stakeholder. And then I think the most important lessons was when I was in Microsoft. My Devera, thank you so much for your mentorship. 2 years I worked with her before I got a new boss. I learned a lot when it comes to discipline execution. She's very good about discipline execution, very good about orchestrating her work. She's very good about delivering conversation with the people that you talk to. When you go into the meeting, you can see someone who blabber, and you can see if someone's actually structured in their thought process. So that's where I learned the difference of, this guy blabber a lot, or grandstanding, or kiss ass or something like that. But with my boss, I can. She teach me how to be very structured in the conversation in the meeting. She took the notes, she structured it it's very, very, very good exposure. And then I think the last one after Microsoft. When was the last one? No lah, Microsoft lah last. Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask you something that I learned from this one professor from Korea, and he was the advisor and consultant to top companies like Samsung, LG, blah blah. And he said that's one secret to innovation, because these companies are very innovative to be the global leader. And he mentioned about the empathy. It's one of the main elements. There are 5 elements, and one is empathy. And that empathy really sparked the curiosity and the innovation of those companies. So in your experience at AirAsia, Crayon, Microsoft, and now you are working on Reyhut, what's your thought on that?
This is something that I saw happen in Microsoft. This is very strange to me at first because I thought when they are like a Western company, I thought they're going to be very straightforward. But this is one lesson I learned from Microsoft. When you go to kandang kambing, you mengembik. That's very true. I saw my bosses there when they speak to the Asian leaders because the big boss usually is the Masaleh one, right? But when they speak to Asian leaders, to country head, because I was sitting at regional, I was speaking to country heads, and when I saw my boss speaking to country heads, they go with the Asian style. The way they write their emails, Asian style. There's always very empathy to Asian culture. It's not direct. So yes, you might heard out there some people say, oh, when you work with Mak Saleh, it's very straightforward, stuff like that. But it depends, right? And I was lucky enough to be able to get that exposure where you are already at the top. You're top companies. You are considered, if you're the boss there, you're considered one of the smartest in the domain, in the sector. But when you talk to your country leaders, Asian country leaders, you mold your way to be able to speak to the Asian style of that shows leadership, your empathy. And then that's how you get everything done very easily because people trust you, people comfortable with you, and you got innovation running in the company. It was so surprised because I thought, well, the ego of the Westerners, right? But no, not in, at least in my zaman in Microsoft, but now I don't know.
Yeah. Very interesting. But let's move on. What do you see the future of your industry, and where do you want Reyhut to be in 5 years?
Right. Speaking from an ASEAN perspective, Malaysia will still need to keep up with Indonesia and Thailand, right? But speaking from ASEAN perspective, it is an industry ripe for innovation. In the past, tourism industry is known as one of the slowest industry to adopt digital adoption, together with accounting those days. We are on par with accounting that time.
Yep.
Now it changed already, where now tourism, they are outpace some of the fastest. Last time it was manufacturing was the fastest to digital adoption. Now we are pacing that. So I believe that the huge opportunity in the market, and it's not just me. When you read the economics of fundraising and investment, we are seeing consolidation in the market, which means there's a lot of players now keep buying each other because they want to consolidate market because of the opportunity of the market. So that's how we see the growth of tourism industry as well, not just in Malaysia but across ASEAN.
Okay. I still want to ask you a bit more about innovation. If you look at this Global Innovation Index, Malaysia seems to stuck in that range of 30 plus for the past 15 years. So meaning that we are not really moving up. And if you go into the detail of it, we are doing okay on the input side, but the output side is a bit still stuck there. And what really prohibit us as a nation, this is general, from going more innovative?
Right. This is a point of view of Marhain, maybe not a real economist, but I would say this is observation that I had. When we talk about being the not the input, but the output of innovation, is the fact that we are structurally designed, in the past, we are structurally designed to just do the input part, right?
Okay.
Right. And then I'm hoping that whatever government is going in today and tomorrow, we should be able to change the structural issue that we have in the economy, in politics, in the society when it comes to becoming the output-driven innovation. A very close example is like this, yeah. We see all this AI agent happening, ChatGPT, Claude, Grok. In Berlin, they already giving a grant to founders to be able to get credit from this LLM for them to build things. In Malaysia, do we have that? None. No agency is giving a credit to our fellow founders, fellow startup players to be able to utilize the LLM coding to be able to build things so we can become producer. Now we are only consuming. To get to that producer thing, even the simplest thing we haven't done yet. In Berlin, they're already giving out all these free credits. So that startup like me, now I'm spending about $100 a month to be able to utilize this LLM coding to expedite my process. $100 for the US people is cheap, but for me, it's 500 ringgit, man.
Yeah.
So that's a huge cost for it. But where the responsible people coming in to help us? No, learn from those countries. Berlin, I just heard about few weeks back about this, and they are super advanced already. Where are we? We keep talking about chip. We keep talking about, I don't know, data centers. So what? We are down here. We are founders. We are trying to push things out there to become, best in ASEAN or even in the world. We need to get help. Not just me. It's just for general public founders.
I think culturally we are very risk averse. Yeah, we are so damn afraid to take risks. And everyone is afraid, even in the context of a university. We are so afraid that, if we make mistake, then someone or whatever will go after you. So I think to create a culture of innovation, then we need to celebrate failure sometimes.
Exactly.
Like the one that I mentioned earlier, that there is no such thing as failure, because it is the process of learning. So I think Malaysia somehow need to encourage that, especially in the context of higher education, university, and started from school, and we shouldn't be too rigid when it comes to, for example, marking the exams. Too rigid with this is the correct answer and that is wrong, that kind of thing. So let the student be more, adventurous, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, sedap. Best juga cakap benda tu. Anyway, okay. Let's
In a way, the
last
institution need to orchestrate this. You cannot just let it happen. No, you have to orchestrate this celebration of failure, and I think it has to, start somewhere.
Yeah, I think we need to have this kind of culture of asking at least 5 whys. Why this, why that, that kind of like create that curiosity. And from there you can solve so many problems. I just came back from training this morning and we talked about that curiosity, the habituation. We do things because that's the way people are doing it. And another one, we talk about procrastination. Why we procrastinate? Because we are so afraid of we fail. So that kind of, but anyway, having worked with big corporations like Microsoft and now running a lean startup, how do you compare these two worlds?
Totally different world. Just to give a context again, I was lucky enough to be able to work in 3 different shapes of companies. First shape of companies was Sengenics, which is the biotech startup in It was a pure startup. And after that, I went to AirAsia, which is the regional player. And then go to the big companies like Microsoft, totally different world. For example, when I was in Sengenics, it's just how startup works. And then when we go to AirAsia, it is not structured. It is quite messy, but it works. Maybe because Tony, he's just crazy, but good way.
Yeah.
But it works, right? He instilled the entrepreneurial spirit in the company itself. In fact, in the company, if you are inside, you will realize one thing about Tony is he's good at identifying talents, young talents, and he will put that talent into a leadership role, and then you figure things out. The first 2 or 3 years, that person will be hated in the company. But after 3 or 4 years, that person will be very competent and very well-shaped. That's the one thing beautiful about Tony, identifying the right young talent, put them on the spot, put them on the red note, and then they will just figure things out. There's only 2 outcomes. It's either you are going to get fired or you're going to be successful. But either way, it's still a very good way. But in Microsoft, it's totally different world. Microsoft, very structured, very formal, stuff like that. It is how it is for a large company. And it's a bit, for young people like me, it's a bit boring, but that's where I learned a lot of things. Because of they have a very disciplined execution. They have a very good cadence. In AirAsia, I don't have a cadence. What is cadence? What is the operational cadence? No. So they have a very structured meeting and stuff like that. And that's why I believe when I went to do startup, this is the balance that I was able to bring in. As much as I want to bring chaos into my company, but at the same time, it is a controlled chaos. It is still chaos, and I need chaos in the company because people need to be on their toe all the time. They cannot relax, right? If you get them to relax in startup, you're not doing well. So they are on their toe all the time, but at the same time, you have some bit of structure into it. So that's the benefit of having seen the two worlds and be able to have a hybrid organization.
Yeah. I think Asia is still practicing this startup culture.
Exactly.
Kind of.
That's their strength.
Yeah. Spot the talent, empower them, enable them,
Yep.
trust them.
Exactly.
And whether they fail or succeed,
That's
a
another story.
different story. Okay.
That's a different story.
All right, let's take a very quick break before we go to the last segment 5.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Saya Dr. Syahirul Zakwan bin Muhammad Syahuddin bersama dengan isteri saya.
Dr. Hassan Nadia binti Hassan Fazali.
Kami daripada alumni Universiti Malaysia Kelantan Perubatan Veterina pada tahun 2016. So kami mempunyai syarikat sendiri iaitu Shanas Legasi Sdn Bhd yang mana kami mempunyai dua bisnes utama iaitu Shanas Veterinary Clinic dan juga ladang ternakan kambing tenusu di bawah Shanas Farmville di Kuala Kangsar. Berkenaan dengan pengalaman kami dalam bidang perubatan veterina ni selama 8 tahun. So selepas bergraduat kami bekerja selama 1 tahun di syarikat klinik haiwan untuk mencari pengalaman dan juga bagaimana menguruskan sebuah perniagaan klinik haiwan. So selepas 1 tahun maka bermulalah perniagaan pertama kami iaitu Shanas Veterinary Clinic. So berkonsepkan ilmu perubatan veterina dan juga ilmu keusahawanan yang diterapkan di Universiti Malaysia Kelantan. Kami menggunakan ilmu perubatan dan juga ilmu keusahawanan tersebut untuk menjalankan perniagaan yang kami ada sekarang ni. Kita nak mengembangkan klinik yang sedia ada dengan peralatan yang lebih lengkap dan juga kita nak menambahkan cawangan sekiranya ada peluang pada masa akan datang, dan juga kita nak beri servis yang lebih baik daripada yang sedia ada untuk pada masa hadapan supaya pemilik-pemilik haiwan ini dapat juga memberi penjagaan yang terbaik
Okay, welcome back. We are now in our last segment number 5, on some reflections. I'm going to ask you. I have quite a number of questions here, but it's going to be fast. Looking back at your journey from Asia to Microsoft to Reyhut, what has been your biggest personal transformation?
I believe the idea of taking a radical move in your life. Because without this radical move that I make every 4 or 5 years, I would just probably stay typical. And you don't want to be typical, but you want to be different. So that's how I think it's a transition, the radical change.
Yeah, so every 4 or 5 years.
Every 4 or 5 years. I just spoken to one of our friends here just now, like, what do I do? So every 4 or 5 years, I try to figure out a way to transition my life.
Someone just told me that he's following your advice. That might take that, Anyway, yeah. Okay, next is, what's one mistake you made in your journey that become valuable lesson for you?
I believe the mistake of, I can't really think much about this, because one of the mistake I did was not being able to, my first chapter in Microsoft, not being able to continue the journey in Microsoft because of pandemic. I had to come back to Malaysia and no more backpacking for me. So I was traveling the world at that time. So.
You were in Japan, right?
In Japan, I went to Korea, I went to China, I went to Europe for a few months, and in Europe I went to 3 countries. So with Microsoft, I went to more than 10 countries, across more than 20 cities.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a richness of life that I think I missed a lot, actually. Yeah.
If you could go back, would you still resign from Microsoft your second time and take the same risk?
Definitely. Because at the end of the day, I am just 30 plus, right? You live your life only around 60 to 80 years old, if you got to 80. Then it's just super short time. So you only have like few years to do something crazy with your life before your knee get old, right? Before your mental clarity is not there anymore. So now I have about 15 to 20 years to be able to have this kind of energy. I need to just go for it, man. Like, go hit the walls, like people say.
Yeah. We are not a tree.
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
don't like a place, we move.
That's true. It's just very important, especially when you are young. You do not trap yourself with that financial stupidity. For example, suddenly at the salary of 3,000, you want to take one Honda that costs you half of your salary. So don't do that, because you need mobility in life. Because once you have a mobility in life, which is financial mobility or movement mobility, and you can get a richness of life. And that richness of life, as I mentioned so many times just now, increase your surface area of luck. Because luck don't just come to you, you build it.
Yeah. Agree. Next, many young people today hesitate to take risks. What would you say to someone sitting on the fence between a safe career and chasing a bold dream?
What's the worst could happen to you? You're dead, right? So if you are going to resign from your job today, you're not going to be dead tomorrow, right? You might have a hard time, but then what? It's just a bumpy road, right? It's just going to pass away. Just do it. I was talking to my friend just now. The most important mentality is figure things out mentality. That's all. Once you have the ability to figure things out and you are confident that you can figure things out, things will come to you.
Go chase your dream.
Go chase your dream.
Yeah. So what legacy do you hope Reyhut and you personally will leave for Malaysia's startup ecosystem?
I wish to be able to become a regional brand like AirAsia and inspire a round of young people to be able to take the leap and then do something crazy with their life. Tony Fernandez has been a very good inspiration and icon for Malaysia, not just me actually, to be able to build a brand in ASEAN that we are really proud of. You see red in the sky, they are painting the sky red. That's very important, I would say, important motto to have, because that's where you bring the Malaysian brand out there, and we wish to be able to be like that as well, be able to bring Malaysian brand out there. At the same time, at one point, we could be like somehow a reference point of how you can be resilient or how you can build. In fact, I was talking to a friend just now in the audience that, I might be failed in the next 5 years. But then it's my job now to try to do our best to be able to achieve the value creation that we are looking for.
It's about the present,
Yeah.
not the past. And let's be hopeful for the future.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. So if you could deliver one message directly to policymakers or investors about supporting young founders, ini penting ni. What would it be?
Spicy one or not spicy one?
The spicy one. I will go for the spicy one.
I'll behave.
Okay.
I think the most important thing is not to get caught up in the announcement mentality, like you're announcing here, you're announcing there, but there's no real impact on the ground. Clear example just now, right? What Berlin did to their startup there. It's a very clear example. You have people on the ground very directly in helping them. Here we are doing competition. Here we are doing whatever it is just to get the PR out. But it's not the way. I mean, you really need to get to the heart of the crux. That's one thing. And as a policymakers, be it at state level or be it at national level, enable the community. I think nationally we are doing very good at that. We are in a way the intensity is getting much better. I'm seeing that in the market today. Thank you so much. But at local level, at state level, we are in Kelantan. There's a lot of things that we need to do because there are so many awesome talent in Kelantan, especially in entrepreneurship, in business. So many awesome talent, but none of them have the platform. So we need to do something to bring the platform. If you're talking about we don't have money, trust me, this past 4 months alone, I brought in already like 2 or 3 investors coming into Kelantan. There's so many people who want to invest in Kelantan, even invest as a derma, something like this, just to help the Kelantan. So what do we do about that? We need to help the ecosystem. You don't need to give money to the startup founders. Give them ecosystem, give them community. I learned from you just now, you try to build a community by having business people meeting every month.
Yeah.
We need to continue it. We need to orchestrate that.
Let the community drive that.
Exactly.
I think I remember reading about Professor Clay Christensen, the father of disruptive innovation, whereby it is the market that create the infra and things like that, not the other way around. And that is done through the community itself. So I think we need to trust and empower more the community and let the community drive for it. Okay. Okay, we are done with the last segment now. Let's go to the rapid fire.
Oh, I'm up
Ready?
for it.
Okay.
Good to go.
Coffee or teh tarik?
Coffee.
Coffee. Book or podcast that has inspired you recently?
Podcast A16Z and 20VC.
Okay. One word that best describes entrepreneurship.
Figure things out.
Figure things out.
Figure things out. We will make it if you figure things out.
If you were not building Reyhut, what would you be doing?
I might start a hacker house, hacker school, or programming house, or product development school. Because I used to have this idea when I built the hotel in Kelantan last time. I was thinking like maybe I could have this one floor to make it a hacker house so that every entrepreneur or founder in Kelantan can go there and then build their products there. I give them free internet, free whatever, so they could just build the product. I give them the facility so that they can empower them.
We can still work that out.
Definitely,
Really?
inshallah.
Because in India, there's one company that called Zoho that really transformed the rural people and become the top programmers without a need to move to the urban areas. Something that I think we can explore in Kelantan, but we can discuss about it in more detail later on. Who is your role model or biggest inspiration?
This is cliche because I would say my parents, because on the business side, it's always my dad. He's crazy about business, and he always he had this one weird statement when I was young. He said like, if you want to become a Malay, become the second generation of Malay who are super competent, who always, for example, he always encouraged us to actively befriend with the Chinese, with the Indian, because he don't want us to stuck with the typical culture. So it started from my dad, and then my mom is more like on the business side as well, but it's more on the less aggressive part of it, but more of the empathy side of it. So I have a good balance on that. Yeah.
I think that's very good advice from your dad. We need to be self-reliant, more competent, confident, and not, think that we are need help all the time. Anyway, the last one. What's one advice you would give your younger self?
Take more risks, but hopefully with more money, so that I could be mobile in terms of taking risks. Because if you realize those people who are successful, especially even in the US, right? Of course, there's nice story is someone from poor and they become rich. That's a nice story, nice headline. But actually, the reality is usually someone in the middle class who actually made it to the top. So if you are already in the middle class, then you take your advantage to be able to do that, to be able to transition, to be able to try things, crazy things. And if you are not in the middle class, a little bit lower, figure out a way to get to the middle class part. And after that, use that particular, I would say, a newfound resources that you have to really do something crazy.
Badzlan, thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for sharing your journey with us today. And your story is a powerful reminder that age is no barrier. You are young when it comes to courage, vision, and resilience. From living the comfort of a global giant like Microsoft to taking the leap of faith in building Reyhut, you have shown us what it means to believe in your dreams and back them with sacrifice and determination. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We hope Badzlan's story has sparked new ideas and inspired you to take bold steps in your own journey. Please subscribe, share, and stay with us as we continue to bring voices that matter from MGSEB and beyond. So I'm Prof. Azizi, and this has been Voices of MGSEB. Until next time, take care, stay courageous, and keep learning and innovating. Terima kasih.
Thank you. Terima kasih.